Over the years, there's been quite a few 6 Degrees of Freedom games released with varying qualities. The core concept of these games is that you're not restricted to 4 axes of movement, up, down, left, and right, in order to do things. Instead, you have additional yaw and roll axes that allow you to basically move around in any direction, making you a floating ball. Which way is up? Well, every direction. Sometimes this makes gameplay a lot more interesting and freeing, but usually leaves people like me a bit confused. The most recent addition to this genre is Disputed Space by ShilohGames, which is entering early access today, June 12th. Disputed Space is a 6 Degrees of Freedom game set in space, where you engage in massive battles between capital ships with dozens of ships fighting at any moment in time. It has 30 single-player levels and the ability to play in split-screen co-op, which is a rare thing these days. You might be asking, well, is it any good? Let's take a look at it today in this episode of Early Access Access. If we're going to cover a 6 Degrees of Freedom game, we might as well begin by looking at the movement in the gameplay, since that's the main point of this game. I really like the control that's available, but it's extremely slow. With such large levels, it seems like it takes an eternity before you get anywhere, which gets boring at times. It'd be nice to have some sort of afterburner or sprint function, so we can quickly get places that are further away at more than a creeping pace. For me, the movement speed is a core flaw in this game. I would be a lot more grasped if I had the ability to actually dodge and flank around enemies in order to fight them, but right now I just kind of slowly move from side to side, which really isn't that engaging. The game is also very simple. I know it's still in early access, but this game feels more like a tech demo than a beta for a game. There's a handful of weapons that look different, but from what I've seen, they really don't do anything different. There's a laser, quad laser, plasma gun, orb gun, a proton gun, and homing missiles, which you use 99% of the time because there's no limit on them, which have different sounds and animations, but aren't really unique in any way. There's enemies that look and behave differently, which I enjoy, but their AI is still really weird. The game already boasts advanced AI on its Steam page, but there's nothing advanced about them. I've noticed that they've gotten a bit better in the weeks that I've been popping into this game, but there's still a lot of work to be done here. Really, they just kind of sit there and wait for you to hit them. You can even follow and run in front of them, and they won't do something until you shoot at them. Aggressiveness has gone up a bit in the past few versions, but they are still a little too passive to really be challenging. The capital ships are the same way. There's a set of turrets that seem to shoot at your capital ships and teammates, but they don't do anything to you. You can literally sit in front of them, and they don't change. Also, capital ships are destructible, but there's really nothing that implies that. You can hit them forever and ever, but nothing about them changes until they randomly explode. It'd be nice to see more hostile turrets and maybe some indication of health for them. Tying into a lack of health indication is really a lack of anything explaining this game. There's no story or anything, which makes it seem like you're just hopping from mission to mission at random. I can't knock it for not having a fully developed story this early on, but it would be nice to see one develop here soon. Still, it's still hard to tell what you're fighting, because the ships are all so passive, and there's never a point in the beginning of the game where the game said, hey, fight these guys. When I first started, it took me a few minutes to figure out what was going on, because while I knew red was bad, I thought yellow ships were friendly because there was no setup. I'm not a fan of long tutorials, but just a quick rundown would have been nice. Also, there's asteroids that float around in the space around you, and I don't really know why. I don't know if they're really just for aesthetic or they actually do anything. They might restore health, but there's nothing that implies that they do something on their death. I spent half of my initial playtime just trying to learn everything through trial and error. If this game gave more feedback to the players, that'd be a lot easier, and if the game actually explained everything, even briefly, that'd be great. Also, it'd be nice to see some sort of progression system in the game, like new ships, weapons, skills, or just anything that implies forward movement, to give this game more of an active presence. Problems aside, I have to give compliments about a couple things in this game. First of all, the game is really interesting to look at. Some of the enemies and friendly ships look pretty basic, but I really like the design of the capital ships, especially the friendly ones. They look more complicated than just a couple colored polygons like some of the fighting ships appear to be. If they took that design level and applied it to the rest of the game, like the HUD and the enemy ships, this game would look a lot better. Plus, there's something about the way the laser beams and the cosmic backdrops work together that make this game look cool and futuristic. Really, Disputed Space is just a pretty game. Also, while this game is still in a limited state, the developers seem to be very hard at work and constantly developing this game. There's an update nearly every day, and it seems like they've been listening to player and reviewer feedback. Some of the early complaints that I had when I first got a key for this game have already been fixed or worked on. There's always the potential that the game gets stuck in this restricted state, but I have a feeling that this game is going to mature pretty quickly. In all, I would say that this game has a very strong potential to be a really good casual game. I don't think it has the scope to be anything huge, but for its little niche, I think it has something there. However, in its current state, I don't think it's a full playable game. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done before then, because right now it's just a proof of concept. Will it get better over time? We'll find out in a couple months with our follow-up video, where we'll see how it's progressed. Thank you guys for watching, and if you want to see more early access game reviews or game reviews in general, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like and a comment to let me know what you think. See you in the next early access.